Dr. Scott. I am so excited to announce that our first student article on Mindsets Magazine has been posted by your colleague Riley Lopez, your peer. And Riley has the most amazingly terrific title, Fart or Art, Fixed to Growth Mindset. Can't wait to read that. You can see from the posting here, her intro is, "This is an insult to to red pandas everywhere," is what my fourth grade teacher said about my drawing of a red panda. So begging to read it, and in fact, I want to show you and show Riley how to make it even better. This is no hypocrisy on my part because I also recently revised and expanded my own growth mindsets and the global climate crisis article, which I posted to be some sort of weirdo example since I didn't have a student example. Now that I do. So let's look at how to do some revisions here. Let me talk about my own piece first, and then I'll show you what to do with Riley's, because I don't want to make this sound like I wouldn't be doing it myself. And I will mention at the same time, as I'm opening my article, that if you go to the main prompt, here's the SA2 prompt, and you scroll down, you'll see, after suggested outline and all the formats, top 10 tips for finishing this assignment. And let me remind you that you need to read and reread the Dweck chapters carefully before you get this done, making a quote collection, because including lots of quotes is a tremendously important part of this assignment. You'll have to brainstorm what it is you're going to say. Maybe Riley's piece will get you inspired, or mine, or both. That means you're going to have to form a thesis based on your brainstorm, make an outline so that you know what you're doing, write a quick rough draft, which is what I did myself, adding a quick subtitle, title, etc., and then go back at some point to add additional quotes and naysayers. And this is something that I'm going to ask both Riley and myself to be doing. I've already done it myself. I hope Riley will do it. That means you can rewrite several more drafts, all of which, by the way, can happen right there on the medium.com page. When you edit your article on medium.com and then save it, everything happens instantaneously. And of course, especially since this is public, not just for Dr. Scott, you want to make sure that you're proofreading carefully. Okay, so that's that. Let's go back to my own article. Now, what I did was switched around the title to make it clearer. I kept my original intro because I liked it, but I also added a much clearer statement right here at the top so that you would know in effect, what was my thesis. That because what Professor Dweck names a growth mindset can help call forth whole new realms of societal imagination, technological resilience, and political resolve. So I ended up this time for once with just one sentence thesis, but it's very important to have that title, brief but brilliant intro, and thesis structure, even though we are, I admit, writing for medium.com. I'm still grading you in an academic writing class. So we come up with something like a hybrid. Other things that I did myself, I rearranged some paragraphs because they didn't make sense to me in terms of the order that came out of my brain the first time. So I moved some paragraphs around completely so that they would fit better within the flow of the article. I did delete some passages that I thought were not necessary. But the biggest thing I did, and this is the one that I want to tell Riley to do too, is I realized I did not have enough about Dweck in this piece. And admittedly, I was thinking more about writing for Medium and less for school. But we're also doing this for school and a grade. And Medium.com articles often tend to be fairly long and in-depth. So I challenged myself. I added naysayers. I said, well, here you are talking about global politics and societal change. That doesn't seem to be the focus of Dweck's book. So I gave myself a strong naysayer, right? I said, what does Dweck's book really have to do, if anything, with global societal changes? Because it's really a self-help book. And I did address that in a whole new section that I added right here. Admittedly, Dweck's 2006 book, Mindset, is solely about individual, not societal, much less planetary transformation. And then I spent a whole section quoting from Dweck, including the part where she does address societal changes in the relationships chapter that we read together, because she talks about how schools can transform the culture of bullying, and even gets into how to address the crisis of mass shootings in our schools. So I made a bridge between her societal reflections and my own about planetary climate crisis. And I think it really did make for a stronger article. I also added quotes from a range of other authors to make sure that I was doing enough work myself. I'm not telling any individual personal stories this time, and that puts even more pressure on me to add. So what am I adding? I'm not adding personal stories. I even added something about our next author, Tefeki, in her book Twitter and Tear Gas, so you can read that here. So the basic idea is that I did everything from tweaking titles and sentences and correcting one or two little typos, including a misspelled word that I found in there, all the way to rearranging paragraphs, deleting some sections, writing whole new sections, and this is what I would be normally doing in my normal writing life anyway. So if you think this ever goes away, Dweck and I are here to tell you that effort is a consistent part of any professional's life. The better you get at something, the more you practice, not less. Professional athletes practice more, not less. Professional musicians practice more, not less, than the quote-unquote average individual. Okay, and then quickly, let me give a little bit of feedback to our wonderful student friend Riley, whose article, Fart or Art, Fix to Growth Mindset, definitely needs no help in the title department. That's a fantastic title, Riley. Love it. And I loved your intro. I thought that was effective as well. My main feedback, as I'm saying here, is that I do think that you need to add even more quotes from Dweck. And by the way, you have a lot. Dweck forces her readers into a self-analysis process. I really liked what you had to say about Dweck, and I'm not saying that you don't have plenty of quotes. Here's one right here. You do have plenty of quotes, but just like me, you need to think about, well, what does Dweck have to say about art? All of your quotes are quite general. So I'm going to remind you right now, and remind others if you happen to be writing about art, that Dweck has a whole section about the famous artist, 20th century artist Jackson Pollock, who was declared to be a total failure, just like you, Riley, by his art teachers as well. And his growth mindset resulted in him being declared one of the great artists of the 20th century. So I'm going to challenge you to put in a naysayer. The naysayer is, well, what does Dweck have to say about artists? The answer is, look at what she has to say about Jackson Pollock. Also, I'd like you to add a sort of so what part. So what? So you become a little bit better artist. I don't think you're going to turn into Jackson Pollock. If you do, if you get that famous, please give me a footnote in your memoirs. But I do think that you can come around to the larger point of how you can use this growth mindset in all parts of your life, not just your life as an artist, as a budding and emerging artist. One last point I'd like to make is that I think your paragraphs are long and could easily be broken up. Now, you might tell me, well, where am I going to break them up? So maybe I'll just give you a little example here. I'll break one up for you because I can edit your stories. So let's read this together right here. That paragraph doesn't look too long to me, but let's see if breaking the paragraph would add emphasis, which it often does. I've noticed that in writing for a medium, paragraphs are often not too long. So here comes your first paragraph. This is an insult to red pandas everywhere, was what my 4th grade teacher said about my drawing of a red panda. This, along with similar experiences with art, led me to have a fixed mindset when it comes to art-related activities. Within the past year, I've tried to change my mindset regarding art. I started making YouTube videos. I believe I'm artistic in the way I edit my videos. I've also decided to enroll in an art class, a drawing class. It has taken me 7 years, but I am trying to change my mindset from a fixed to a growth one. Changing my mindset concept is Professor Carol Dweck believes. So I'm going to put one in right here. See if this helps. Changing one's mindset is a concept Professor Carol Dweck believes in and discusses in her book Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. She believes that in order to succeed, one must change their mindset from a fixed mindset to a growth one. I completely agree with her, as over the past year I've accomplished things I would not have done without changing my mindset. Now, I totally think it's arguable about whether that helps or doesn't help, but I do think that visually on the page, this looks a little bit less intimidating. So it's just something to consider. And again, as I scroll through your piece here, I noticed that some paragraphs, there's a pretty long one. Some paragraphs are pretty long. Ooh, look at that one. And so you might look at places where adding a paragraph break would both emphasize a new point and add sort of visual clarity to what you're trying to accomplish. Can't wait to see what's going on with others of you. Now, last point, No one's clapped for my article, which isn't so bad, but how about we clap for our friend Riley's article here? And you do that. I don't know why I'm not quite seeing. Oh, because I'm still in edit. You do that, now that I've saved and published, you do that over on the left margin here. So please do clap. I'm going to clap again for Riley's article. That's 2 claps from me, Riley. It's not the sound of one hand clapping. We all need to clap for each other's articles and add comments and highlight so that we can really get these articles out there to the rest of the world. The more claps we get, the more comments we get, the more others will comment in the wider world. Can't wait to see what you post. Here we are. Bye.